Welcome to youTurn Radio. Here at youTurn Radio, we believe in big-hearted communities and small government. Join your hosts, NADIA RENNER, Tom Murphy, and Eric STEINMANN, as we work to put local governments on a diet and champion the charities that support your community. So come on, join us and let's turn it around.
Welcome to youTurn Radio. Happy Thursday. If you guys are out driving, please be careful because it's pouring outside.
Nice. It's good. Sometime next August, we'll be happy that this happened today.
That's true, absolutely. And today we're always live on Thursdays from 3 to 4. But we got Tom, myself, NADIA in the studio, and Eric might be joining us via telephone today, right?
Right.
So today, usually we talk and concentrate a lot more on, politics and things that are happening in our county. We talk about supervisors. I mean, what don't we talk about here at youTurn Radio?
We cover the whole spectrum of possibilities for the Inland Empire, but we do focus on one of two things, which is either a big-hearted community topic or a small government topic.
Right. And speaking of charities and big-hearted communities, what we do here at youTurn Radio is anytime that anybody calls, whether it's because you have an opinion or you just want to call and let us know about your favorite charity, when you call in, we get to spin for charity. And whatever it lands on, that's what you get. And it could be from hundreds to thousands of dollars. You can call in 909-792-5222. That's 909-792-5222. And we've given out a lot of money.
I have my spinner ready right here, my iPhone spinner ready to go for anybody who calls in.
And that's your favorite charity working here in the Inland Empire, because we're all about the IE here at youTurn Radio. And today we have a great show. We're going to be talking about hidden taxes you didn't know you were paying. First of all, I didn't even know that this existed up until I had an experience once with my cell phone provider. And that's the first time that I really, really got to look into stuff. And I was like, wait, you're taxing me for what? You're doing what now? And that's kind of when I started to know about it. But it's not just with cell phone stuff. It's with so many different things that you would be surprised.
Right. And it's, they're not really hidden because they're on your bill, right?
Right. You're right. Yeah.
But in terms of who are these people and why are they extracting money from me, that is a little bit kind of unclear. So we're going to try to clear a little bit of that up.
Right. You know why I think I say hidden too? Because it's like when you sign up for whatever plan it is, whether it's your cell phone or they don't tell you about those fees. So that's why I say hidden, because every time I've got myself into some type of contract with whatever it is, because it's not just cell phone, like I said, I always now make sure that I look at, is there any other fee that I'm going to get that I don't know of or that I'm not aware of just today? Because they'll be like, oh yeah, for this is $29.99 a month. Don't you worry about anything. Your bill is going to be, next thing you know, my bill comes and I have way more than $29.99. I'm like, what happened to that? And they're like, oh, well, what they didn't explain to you is that you got to pay for all these extra things. And then now you're in a contract. So, you're going to pay more to get out of that contract.
Right.
So it gets very tricky and very difficult. So we're going to be covering.
I agree. That drives me crazy when it's like, hey, $29.99 a month. And you get a bill and it's like $40 a month. And you're like, wait a second.
Absolutely.
You said $29.99.
I seriously work off budgets. I really sit and say, okay, this much is going here, this much is. So how much? And the reason why I do that is because I have to calculate how much money I have to go shopping for, as any girl would. So yeah, I take these deals very serious. So why don't we get started with the first one? Like I mentioned, my first experience with this situation has been with my cell phone provider. And what happened was that I signed up, and then there was like a $20, it was almost like $20 total, like extra fee. and I didn't take into consideration all the taxes that I was getting. But it's not just like, it doesn't come out like where it's like, oh, it's just a tax. Like, you know, like when you buy something that says tax and it's just like your regular amount. There's a breakdown of so many different things with a fee right next to it, or like an amount, I should say, for every little single thing. And it's like 6 of them.
Give us I see you have your bill there. Or you're working on your bill.
Yeah, I actually had
pull up a fee and let's name it and see see who claims it.
Okay.
Right, because somebody, right? This money's going to somebody, even if it's a very little amount. It's gonna it goes to someone. So what our aim for the show today is to explain to our listeners who gets those fees that come off. We're starting with the cell phone bill. I brought along a cable bill. Just thought I'd bring that along.
That's another one with a bunch of hidden fees, like, or not hidden. I should probably not say hidden, but fees that you're like, wait, what are you talking about? And I'm pulling up. This is live radio, so I thought I had this ready to go, but apparently not. It kicked me out. Because I definitely will tell you guys.
You didn't pay your bill, did you?
No, it's not due yet. Yeah, no. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, no, my phone's still working. We're active. We're good.
You've been shut off.
Okay. So the way that my bill it's broken down, it's the plans and equipment, which is fine because it's a plan. I have unlimited minutes, and then it's the type of cell phone that I have. So that alone is just not my bill. But then we go into the surcharges. So there's an administrative charge.
Okay.
So this is for what? For the employees.
Administrative charge. Well,
exactly. I don't even know. Is it for the employees or is it for the company or is it? There's a charge for that.
I got this list of charges, but I don't even see an administrative charge on there. Hold on a second here. Give me another charge.
Okay, California State PUC user fee.
PUC. PUC stands for the Public Utilities Commission. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm paying a fee for that.
Right. And what they do for us is, let me shuffle my papers and see if I can find that note.
I would really love. This would be perfect for Eric to join us because he would probably have a better breakdown of why we're really paying for this because he has experience in this field.
That's
right?
That's his profession is telecommunications. But yeah, so the California Public Utilities Commission, what they do is they regulate privately owned electricity, natural gas, telecommunications, water, railroad, and some other things. And their mission is to make sure that these utilities or services that are given kind of on a wide scale are provided under a safe and reliable service at affordable rates. So that's their job.
Wait. You said privilege to what? Natural gas and what?
Yeah.
Like water?
So the Public Utilities Commission, they regulate private industry. And the industries that they regulate are privately owned companies that provide electricity, natural gas, telecommunication services, water services, railroad transport, and then there's some other things.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't know that, but I thought that was part of the taxes, so I didn't know that was a fee there for that in particular.
So their budget, I think last year, if I got it correct, was $1.6 billion with a B dollars.
Okay.
So there's this entity that sits up, and I think their headquarters is actually in San Francisco, and they write regulations, and they impose those regulations on these types of companies that are privately owned and provide us those services. And those companies, like on your cell phone bill, right? So you write your check to Sprint, and Sprint has to take part of that check you write and shovel it over to the Public Utilities Commission, so that they can do their work and you know.
And how much are they? What's the billion number?
1.6 billion was their budget.
Billion.
I think 17-18 budget.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's like I think there's like 36 million people in the state. So this is a few dollars for every person.
A few. This is a lot of money.
Now that's just their budget.
Okay, so that's just one of the fees that I have under my Sprint surcharges. The other one's federal, and it's UNIV services, non-LD. Like, I mean, I don't even know what this stuff stands for.
Let's
see.
Universal Services Fund. Okay. So that money is collected from Sprint in this case. So you hand Sprint your check, and Sprint has to take some of that money and shovel it over to, I believe this is an FCC administrative program. I'm not certain, but it's money that's used to help schools, libraries, rural health care providers, and telephone companies that operate in high-cost areas. And it gives them discounts on telecommunication services. And it supports programs that provide discounted essential service and free service installations to income-eligible families. And I'll translate that with an example.
Okay.
Okay. Here's an example. My mother-in-law is elderly.
Okay.
I think she just had her happy birthday, mom-in-law. I think it was 81st birthday. And she's on Medicare. And one of the benefits, I guess you might say, of being on Medicare is you can get a free cell phone.
Okay.
And it's, it comes with your typical plan, that type of thing. And the idea is for economically needy folks, they can get free phone, free access to the cell phone system. Basically, it's a giveaway so that they can access the system. So that's the idea behind it.
Okay, then that I kind of don't have an issue with. If it's because technically it kind of helps other people, but still, I mean, it's like it's one of those things where it's
Here's the question that I'm going to ask. Really, every government program that redistributes income or redistribute is, I'm going to ask somebody. Okay, if somebody comes to your door and knocks on your door, and I've used this analogy before, if they come to your door, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, will you donate, let's say, $100 a year to provide underprivileged or economically underprivileged folks access to telecommunications, cell phones?"
They said $100 a month.
Oh, we'll make it $100 a year.
I mean, it has to be something.
Some people might say, absolutely, I'd love to do that. Some people might say, no, actually I don't. I do charitable giving, but I'm interested in other areas. My point is, you have a choice about what you do with your hard-earned, the fruits of your hard-earned labor.
Okay, I think that's where I was going to go.
There's no choice here.
I was just going to tell you, I was like, if it's something that I really care about, I would probably be like, okay, yeah, I'll donate, if it's something that is touching to me personally. Right. And like you said, I would agree or disagree to do it. Here, you're kind of doing it, but I think what got me here too, Tom, is that you use your mom?
My mom-in-law.
Your mom-in-law.
Yeah.
So that's like when I think like older people, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they need it. Like I have like a softer side for stuff like that. But here we don't have an option, which is different. However, if they were to tell me something like that, like you want to donate money, then I'll be like, okay, like who is it for? And so it's a little different.
And actually, a number of these programs are somewhat like this, where it's money that's that's taken and redistributed to less economically advantaged folks to try to give them access to the system. Now, you may think that's a good idea, you may think it's a bad idea, but my point again is that we have no choice in terms of our dollars and where they go on this.
Right.
And we wouldn't deal with somebody that was knocking on our front door.
That's
that
true.
Way.
Some people even hide when they come knocking at the door. I won't say who, but anyways. Another fee is a regulatory charge. Like, isn't that like part of what? What does that do? Isn't that part of just the regular bill alone? Like, that should be part of the plants and equipment, wouldn't it be?
Well, what happens with, so, and you have both a state and a federal regulatory fee. And so both the state and the federal folks are providing a service, essentially. And the service they provide is regulation, right? They write the regulations that govern, how all this stuff is delivered. Well, that costs something, right? You got to have some funding to fund that operation. That's what a regulatory fee is. So basically, this is a payment from, in your case, Sprint, to we'll take the FCC, and it's money that Sprint turns over to the FCC so that the FCC can run their business of regulating the industry. Now, is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? I have some thoughts about that. If Eric makes it in, he has.
I would love to hear Eric's point of view on these type of things. I really would. And that one, Tom, it's under Sprint surcharges. It's not even under government taxes and fees, because there's two different, at least in my bill, there's two different parts of my bill. So the ones that I just went over, those are just like the company's surcharges. And then there's another list of government taxes and fees. And then that's a whole nother list.
The interesting thing is regulatory fees, they don't have to charge the consumer for that.
They don't.
No, they got to pay it, but they don't have to charge the consumer for that. Does that make sense?
So technically, it depends on the company or like the provider that you're.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, the cost is going to be included somewhere. In it just maybe they'll charge you a little higher for the service or something like that, so they can then turn around and give it to the FCC to do their work. But they don't have to, quote, charge you that service. They could choose, charge you that fee. They could choose not to charge you,
right?
But they still got to pay. They still got to pay the man.
Gotcha. So now, those fees are that. Now there's government taxes and fees within this bill, and this one, I was surprised. I didn't even think about this one, but you get charged California State 911 tax fee.
Right.
And I mean, can't remember the last time I called 911. And I would think this would be part of the taxes, like my regular taxes that I pay, not on a cell phone.
One would think so. Let's see. Basically, according to my notes here, it's a surcharge imposed on the consumer to be collected. So it is essentially a tax or a fee. Well, no, it's called a tax. When a retail transaction takes place.
I called my provider and I asked why.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a while ago because I got charged for a lot of stuff. And anyways, the point was that when I asked, I said, well, that's interesting. Like, why do I get that fee? And they said, because even if your phone were to be disconnected too, like it would make that call. Your cell phone would make that call. That was the explanation they gave me.
Yeah.
So they're like, technically if you didn't pay your phone and you didn't have service but you called 911, that phone call would still go through.
Yeah. And the other point is, there's obviously cost involved in the 911 system. You know what I'm saying? The people that answer the
But doesn't that fall under our taxes?
One would think so.
I mean, okay, like firefighters, right? I mean, there's FP5. We covered FP5 for so long, which is a fee that they're imposing, and they already have a budget, so now they're asking for more money. And now technically this would kind of fall under that, right? Because you call 911 if there's a fire. So now there's more money going there that you're paying through your cell phone.
Right. The probably the best way to look at it is in any budget, if you're out of balance, right? If you're in the red, you have one of two choices: either increase revenue or decrease spending, right?
Right.
And California, for a long period of time, has been unable to live within their means in terms of the property tax revenue and the sales tax revenue. So across the state, you see it all over the place where government entities are desperately looking for cash, for more cash. And I'm assuming this probably, and this is just an assumption, I'm assuming this goes to a commission, either the California Public Commission or the, you said it was a California 911 tax,
this
right?
This is just,
Yeah, okay. So this very likely goes to the California Public Utilities Commission, which they then use to fund the 911 system. And like you say, you never use it, but, I'm an ex-coastie, and, the one time you need it,
yeah,
you're probably going to want it. You're going to be happy that.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying. I mean, I'm paying for this for every month. I mean, I'm paying for this every month. And anyways, all right. So California State, California ADV. What is Advice Service Fund? What is the ADV?
Let's see here. That is the Advanced Services Fund surcharge, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. It promotes the deployment of high-quality advanced communication services to California. And it's allocated basically in four accounts: broadband, rural and regional urban, the broadband public housing, and the broadband adoption account. So basically they collect this money, it goes into four different efforts. Looks like most of those they're trying to fund broadband access, and one rural access. So it's basically money to fund likely infrastructure and regulatory schemes so that we can get internet better and faster, broadband.
Okay, I'm sorry, but my service is not good all the time. I mean, is this where this plays? Does this?
No.
Or is it like when I'm somewhere and I have Wi-Fi and for the service to go through?
I'm totally guessing on this because I don't know for certain. So I manage a piece of property for my mom up in Wrightwood, and for years Wrightwood didn't. The only broadband service they had was cell phone based.
Okay.
Or basically either that or satellite. The satellite dish. Which neither of those are necessarily great solutions. One, because you're chewing up too much data on your cell phone plan, or the other one is weather kind of affects your signal. So a company who actually is providing great service up in Wrightwood came in and hardwired the entire town for broadband services.
Okay.
I believe, I'm not certain, but I believe that they were assisted financially from the state because the state wants broadband into, every area of the state, including rural areas like Wrightwood.
You know what's so funny that you say that?
I'm guessing on that.
And you share this story. Last time I went to Wrightwood, I got lost in the mountains. And because I rely on my cell phone, and this is when I was like, I should probably write stuff down again. I didn't have no service, and I was so lost, and I kept going in circles.
Sure.
I was...
Wait, no, 4 ways up, 4 ways in and 4 ways out of Mount Niagara.
Well, I kept going in circles. I'm not going to lie. I did cry a little bit because I'm like, where am I? Where am I going? And I couldn't call anybody. And I obviously couldn't like get a MapQuest or anything to get out of there. It took me 2 hours to get out of Wrightwood. Well, never happened again. I feel like I already know Wrightwood. But anyways, we're going to cut into a break and we'll come back with hidden fees that you don't know that you are paying here at youTurn Radio. Welcome back to youTurn Radio. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are driving safe out there. We're going over hidden taxes. And I say hidden because sometimes you're not aware. Hidden taxes you didn't know you were paying. And I started talking about how I experienced that with my cell phone. And, you know, as a matter of fact, I was going back and forth with my cell phone provider and telling them, like, where these extra fees were coming from. And it's not necessarily the employee's fault, but they weren't able to explain it. And they would just say tax and fee, like, they'll just say taxes and taxes. But it's like, well, how much are my taxes? It wasn't until I really sat and looked at my bill and went over everything that I get paid, and just in general, just government taxes and fees total is like 9 different like fees that all add up to one. So usually when you get into these type of contracts, and it's cell phone amongst other things, you end up paying a little bit more because there's all these fees that you're probably not aware of, and the people when they're selling you this stuff will not tell you. It's rare the person that or the salesperson that will tell you, by the way, after you purchase this, you're going to end up paying a little bit more because of these taxes, and this is what you should realistically be looking for. Yeah,
and, you know, to be fair, some of these are a penny. Some are, you know, up to $4 or $5. But, you know, it's the old death by 1,000 cuts. You know.
Right. I mean, think
Should
about
we
it.
use the cake analogy?
Sure. You could do that.
Okay. Let's imagine that Nadia... just in appreciation to her mom, decides I'm going to bake a dinner and I'm going to top it off with a cake. Mm-hmm. So Nadia invests all this effort, this labor into creating this cake. Okay, so she slices it up and passes it to her mom. But before it gets to her mom, 10 or 12 people that she doesn't even know step in. And they grab the cake, and they each take either a little or a bigger bite out of that piece of cake as it goes down the row, 10 or 12 people to her mother. So her mom finally gets the piece of cake. And
by that time, she probably doesn't even have a cake.
She's lost her appetite.
And 2, I mean, I put all this work in to make this amazing, delicious cake that everybody took a piece of.
Yeah, and in that kind of and the analogy is between you and your cell phone provider.
Right.
Right. You invest your labor, right?
Right.
To earn a return, which is your money, and then because you want a cell phone, you're more than happy to pass that money to your cell phone provider, right?
Right, except when I'm not getting service.
I mean, but, you know, you like it enough to actually contract with them to do
For
it,
sure.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but there's this, you know, long row of fees that are all government, either tax or whatever, that are being extracted from your labor as it goes to Sprint.
Right.
And the point is, that's not your choice, and it's not Sprint's choice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you had a choice, you're not going to give that money to those 12 entities along. You're going to give the money to Sprint.
Correct.
And either get your service for cheaper, or maybe better, right? If that supply chain of government
Absolutely.
was on, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the analogy, that your labor is being taxed and being lessened, essentially, and the only services that you are getting out of it are essentially government regulation and a transfer of your wealth to somebody else. It's essentially charity that you can't control.
Right. Well, and it's not just with cell phones, though. It's with so many different things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the other one, let's talk about gasoline taxes.
Yeah, every transaction you make, there's there's a transaction between you and the person that you're interacting with, that kind of capitalistic, we both agree that we want,
right.
We're going to do this transaction. But then there's this whole food chain, if you're a supply chain, if you will, of government taxes that are put on top of, like gas. It's a great example.
Yep. Which is, and it's taxed on every gallon. It's not even like, right?
Yeah.
My understanding.
Yeah, and this is a little bit dated information, but so you go out and you buy a gallon of gas, which is what, about $3.10 right now?
I mean, it depends where you are, really.
Yeah, it does. Let's say it's $3. Anyway, so in general, about 73 cents of that is not for gas.
It's for a tax.
you got your underground storage tank fee.
Right.
Okay. So you got all these underground storage tanks. They over time they rot, and they have to be dug up. Kind of it's an environmental hazard.
Okay.
So that goes to fund that operation to make sure that stuff isn't leaking out and poisoning us. And then you got local sales tax, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's added in there. You got the California state sales tax,
right?
Right. And then you got what they call a variable state gas tax, and that's right now. I think that is, what is the variable state gas tax? I can't remember what that one was. Then you have a federal excise tax, which in this example is 18 cents a gallon. So 18 cents of every gallon just goes to the feds. And then you have a 30-cent state gas tax.
I honestly didn't know there was a lot of these fees within my gas. I mean, I knew I was paying some type of tax, but not like with this breakdown. It's really like going to a lot of different places. No wonder gas is so expensive. And I might just share, gas it's like a love-hate relationship that I have with gas. It's like I love it because I could drive and I could go places. But I also am like, man, that's like just putting money to I'm never like, it's just giving money away, it feels like, but obviously you're getting from A to B, and I get it.
Next time you fill up, look, there should be a sticker on your pump. And it breaks it down into, basically says federal is about 18 cents and state take is like 40 cents a gallon or something like that.
So then there's hidden fees there's hidden fees, and not hidden because they are, like Tom did say, they're on your bill, but it's things that we probably don't know or we don't realize that you're not just paying for that particular thing. Medicare tax is another one, the amount withheld from your employee, from your paycheck. It goes to what I understand, FICA, which is the Federal Insurance Contribution Act. So like all these different things, like it's a breakdown of other things that is getting paid as well. Yeah,
and one key comment here is that the BLS, I think the BLS, Government Bureau of Labor Statistics, did a study, I think it was a couple of years ago, and they kind of clumped all the taxes into one category. And basically they found that other than housing, and we've talked about this before, other than housing, Americans pay, the next item on their budget is taxes. So if you take all the state, local, and federal taxes that you pay, and that's probably not even in your budget, but that amount is the number 2 line item on their budget.
Yeah.
On American budgets.
You know what's so crazy too? When I thought about this, when I saw the, Medicare tax too, it reminded me of our show that we had that was so good. And I can't remember what episode it was, with Dr. Steinmann. And he broke down even like how much the medicines cost, and like how much they tax them, kind of like, because they're really the cost is like really cheap, but then once we personally have to buy them to get them, like it's like outrageous, the amount, and it's through the insurances. And like that show, if you guys have insurance, which I'm sure everybody does. Just in general, like if you are going to the doctors and you have medicine, go listen to this show because he did a great job of explaining how it's broken down and how the insurance do business with the hospitals and that type of stuff. And it's just, I mean, it was just a whole different, I had a whole different view on it.
It costs like $2 to make the pill, and then
Right.
they turn around and your insurance company is paying, $2,000 for it, and you're paying a copay and all that type of thing. And it's this whole supply chain again of both government and pharmaceutical industry, which is not really free competition. It's not really unfettered capitalism, if you will. And the costs are just horrendous.
And then when you see that there's a tax fee there too, I'm like, whoa, like that's just so crazy.
Yeah.
So, but amongst the other things that we get fees from, electricity and natural gas tax. And the other one, I think everybody can relate to this one, the cable tax, right?
Cable, like your cable bill.
Your cable bill from like the TV.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like that's just crazy. And you have a bill, right?
Yep.
And there's how many fees total that you have on that bill?
I counted 14 different either fee or tax amounts and this is actually my mom-in-law's bill.
Uh-huh.
And 14 of them. Interesting, some of them are, to a certain extent, are double dipping.
What do you mean double dipping?
Well,
Why?
you have the federal, or let's use the Universal Lifeline Service,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is a line item in the cable bill for the Universal Lifeline Service. Remember, this is the base shorthand. This is a free cell phone program.
Right.
There's other stuff, but
wait. So your cable, what you're saying
you're
is
paying that on cable.
and
You also
your
pay
cell phone.
on cell phone. So that's what I mean by the government is
Gotcha.
double dipping.
Oh my
to pay for
God!
that
I
program.
just put that one together.
No, and
well, look at that.
if you have go home, get your cable bill and compare it with your cell bill. There's going to be charges on there that are California is going to have they're double dipping.
Now I bet if you put all your bills together and you start looking, I'm pretty sure it's more than double at some point. You know what? I think that's why. Now that I think about it, a lot of my friends that live out on their own, they just pay for Wi-Fi. Mm. And it makes so much sense because a cable bill can be so expensive, and paying Wi-Fi will lower that rate. And not just that, but it also, I mean, you have access to YouTube, like a lot of like free stuff. And I think that's why things like Netflix, it's still way cheaper to pay for Netflix account and Wi-Fi compared to a cable bill, where sometimes, let's just be honest, the stuff that's on cable, it's not that entertaining. There's only like 2 things that I probably watch and I'm like, okay, this is really entertaining. Other than that, I don't know. I'm a big fan of TV.
You want an example of that?
Sure.
So this was a couple years ago. I had a house. I had 2 sons living with me that love sports and, kind of wanted their own TV type of thing. Okay. So I'm kind of reviewing my cable bill.
Right.
And it's $350 a month.
What? That's a car payment.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is, it's like, how it was when
That's
Dad gets
lot.
over here. It's like, this is ridiculous. So I said, I don't care. We're turning everything off except for cable internet.
Yeah.
I just want internet service. That's all we need. And we did it, and there was maybe 3 weeks worth of kind of whining. Never heard a problem again. My bill went from $350 to $50 a month.
I mean, that's insane.
Shutting all that
That
stuff
is
off.
insane. And you can get all this information now, like on your cell phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, pick what bill you want. Pick the one thing
Turn
that
off your cable. Turn off your cable TV.
But I really think this is why, like, a lot of the youth that live on their own do things like this rather than cable. And I think that I think that these type of things and apps are going to keep developing to kind of get rid of cable. I think that in the future, cable probably won't exist. No, That's my prediction.
I'm with you.
All right. Let's see. Let's go back to electricity and natural gas tax. Like, so it goes back to what you just said, the double dipping. I'm pretty sure that on the electricity and natural gas tax, we're dipping into kind of like the same fees that we're doing with cable and our cell phone bill. There are two parts of the electric bill. So, and it's very tricky how the bills are kind of explained. If you look at your electricity or gas bill, like how they measured the gas and stuff. It's very interesting if you ever looked at that to see the breakdown of the fees. Because right before the show, or when I knew we were going to be talking about this, and I was looking at the different bills, electricity and gas are very different as far as they're being measured.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got, I think electricity, at least on my bill, is like kilowatt hours, and then I forget what gas is. I can't remember what unit they have in there, but really, so what I would encourage folks, you tend to kind of put those on electronic pay and just kind of, look at it as it goes out, maybe.
Yeah.
Look at those closely, because it wasn't electricity or gas, it was water. Down where I'm from in North San Diego County, there was some articles in the paper about people getting water bills that were just like 4 times what they usually paid. And it was like, what was the problem?
Right.
And as if I understand it correctly, I'm not sure, but as they looked into it, it was just a function of the person that read the meter was reading it wrong.
You see, that's what I'm telling you. Like, we're all human beings and we all make mistakes. But like there's certain mistakes that other people are paying for.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
This is the perfect example of that.
Right.
So we got you. I'm telling you, when I was doing the preparation for the show, I was just like, everything that I work for kind of goes to bills. It really does.
It doesn't, and like I said, you don't mind paying Sprint, right? Because they're providing a service to you.
Yeah.
But maybe some of that food chain you do mind because you don't have a choice. There's another example, again, down from where I live, is water. Mm-hmm. So, California had this big drought thing, right?
Right.
So, stating the obvious as if anybody doesn't know that, but so that they really worked hard. I think it was in the Poway Water District to reduce their use of water. Mm-hmm. And then guess what happened to their rates?
What happened? Went up?
Of course.
Because everybody's like, let's be more cautious.
Exactly.
Let's not waste water.
Because if you're not wasting water and you're paying, for your use of water, right? Their revenue just went down. So what do you think they did? Do you think they laid anybody off or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
They increased the rate.
Of course.
And people are just like, wait a second, we worked really hard, we reduced our usage, and now we're being penalized for that.
There were certain cities that you would get a charge if you were watering your grass when we were going through that drought. Yeah. So and still that was a fee, and you're like, well, I don't want my grass to die either, but it's just crazy. In their defense, the public utility, the water district would say, hey, we still have to pay to maintain this whole system that delivers the water. But the difference, again, is in a private competition, that company is going to have to figure out how to reduce their cost or they're going to fail. Whereas when it's a government organization, it just goes to the regulatory structure and says, hey, we're not getting enough money to do this, so you got to up the rates. Yeah.
And that's what happened down there.
Well, the last one that we'll share today, with all these fees that we've shared that you're paying, and some you're paying not just on your cell phone bill, but they kind of like all merge together because you're paying for the same fee on your cell phone bill, gas. The last one is license. The license, that one, Okay, first of all, like, what the DMV, it's just been crazy. Like, the last time I went to the DMV, my fee went higher than the previous year for I don't know what reason, because, again, some of the time, or most of the time, I should say, the employees can't break down why you're paying more. Mm-hmm. And last year, I paid more than the previous year for the same car that I have, because usually, like, you'll pay more if it's like a newer car, like things like that, right?
Right.
I've had the same car for a few years now.
It actually should go down.
It should go down, right? So not last year, and it was the first time that happened to me, and I'm just like, wait, what? I'm like, why am I paying more again? Like, that's crazy. And as it is, you're paying for, your license, and then you're also paying for like your tags for your car. So I'm just like, all this money. And I mean, I get it too. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, well, at least I have a car and I'm driving. I could just get a bus or a train, and but it's like all these fees that when you look at it, they add up, and it's so much money.
Yeah, imagine your mom's cake. You're
the cake that I baked for her.
Your hard labor. I know you do. Makeup artistry and all that work, that's your labor. That's what you contribute to society. The value you bring to society is your labor, basically.
Right.
Now, and the idea of really any kind of tax or fee from the government is, I'm taking part of your labor and I'm forcing you to do that.
Right.
Right? You don't really have a choice. I mean, you can choose not to pay taxes, but then
that's even worse.
Essentially, the government, the inherent power of the government is the power of force,
right?
Or, if you will, the power of the sword. They have the ability to force people to do things, and they have the ability to force you to give up part of your labor to fund their activities. And although I believe obviously there are some legitimate functions of government, I think it's just key that citizens are, if you will, really inside of government, understanding what's going on, and contesting when the government is using that power of the sword to extract from us what they ought not to extract.
Absolutely. And we have so many shows on our website.
There's got to be a soapbox around here I can stand
on. We have so many of those shows that we also talk about, like FP5. If you go to youturnradio.com, and we cover that, and that's a great example of what's happening right now in the Inland Empire, and it keeps developing. And it's a fee of $157.
$157 goes up 3% a year if the Board of Supervisors approves it.
Right. So, and I think that's when we need to pay like the most attention, because it's like, oh, it's just a fee here, but within years it keeps going up and up and up and up, and it's just like, man, like you're not going to catch a break.
Yeah,
you just definitely want to get involved.
And in that case, the RENNER Group, which is the nonprofit that underwrites this show, they have challenged the county in court over FP5, over that tax, and obviously, I think for perfectly legitimate reasons they're challenging it, because the state constitution says basically you got to get a 2/3 approval, straight up yes no vote from the people to impose a special tax, and that wasn't done in this case.
Right. Absolutely. We have great shows like that, especially the one, too, I can't remember, but we could probably tweet it. The pharmacy one that we had, that one was great, too. So you understand the breakdown of insurances and budgets, where your money's going to when you pay insurance, and when you're actually really sick and you need medication, the cost of it and what it's really being paid. It's insane. I recommend that you go to youturnradio.com for more episodes like this one, where you get informed and learn maybe something new today, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for us here at youTurn Radio. I'm NADIA RENNER. Thank you for joining us.
Drive home safely.
All right. You know how to say your name. I'm NADIA RENNER.